The roommate who never left. If I had known my childhood friend liked to watch me sleep, I would have never let her move in. But by the time I realized, she wasn't just watching me. She was planning something. I live in a nowhere kind of town where the grocery store closes at 7 p.m. and the streetlights flicker out half the time. Nights here are so quiet, you can hear the freight train's horn echoing from miles away, a low moan that seems to linger long after it's gone. I liked that quiet. It was the only thing keeping me sane after years of city noise. My apartment was above the old post office. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, linoleum floors that curled at the corners, and windows that rattled in the wind. It always smelled faintly of dust and old wood, with a hint of cinnamon from the bakery across the street. Then came Ivy. It was 9:42 p.m. on a Tuesday when she showed up, rain plastering her hair to her face, mascara smudged, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She looked like she'd stepped out of some tragic indie film. "Please," she said, shivering. "Just for a few nights. I'll figure things out." She smelled faintly of wet wool and something else, metallic like pennies. I told myself it was just from the rainwater running down rusty gutters. The first night, she slept on the couch. I could hear her shifting until almost 2 a.m., springs creaking in the quiet. By morning, the smell of her shampoo, lavender, too sweet, hung in the air, clinging to the couch cushions. On the second night, at exactly 1:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of my bedroom door creaking open. I froze, listening. Bare feet shuffled against the linoleum. "Ivy?" I whispered. Nothing. The door closed softly. I told myself she probably needed water. But the next morning, I noticed something strange. My bedroom smelled faintly of her lavender shampoo, even though she'd never been inside before. Days passed. Ivy didn't leave the apartment, not even to step outside for fresh air. She claimed she wasn't ready to run into people she knew in town. By the end of the week, she'd stopped changing clothes. She wore the same oversized sweater that smelled faintly of sweat and something sour, like milk left out too long. Sometimes I'd wake at night and hear her in the kitchen, not cooking, just moving things around. The refrigerator door opening, then closing. Drawers sliding out, then in again. I started noticing small thefts from my food. A slice missing from a loaf of bread. Half a banana gone. A bite taken from a piece of cheese I hadn't touched. When I asked her about it, she tilted her head and smiled, her teeth just a little too visible. "Maybe you ate it and forgot." Her breath smelled faintly sweet, like she'd just eaten something, but I couldn't place the scent. It wasn't anything in my fridge. The incident that broke my nerves happened a week later. It was 3:08 a.m. when I woke to that creak again. I kept my eyes closed, my breathing steady. I could feel the shift in air pressure as the door opened wider. Then came the breathing, slow, measured, right beside my bed. My heart pounded so hard I was sure she could hear it. I caught the faint smell of her sweater, that sour, milky scent, mixed with something new, damp earth. Like she'd been outside digging in the cold night soil. She stood there for so long I started counting in my head to stay sane. At count 137, she moved. The door clicked shut. I stayed still until my phone read 4:22 a.m., then got up to check. That's when I saw it. On my nightstand was my necklace, the silver one my grandmother had given me, the clasp broken. It had been in my jewelry box across the room. The necklace incident rattled me more than I wanted to admit. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I started locking my bedroom door at night. But apartments in this town are old, and the lock on my door was just a flimsy turn-button latch, the kind that feels more like a suggestion than real security. Thursday, 12:41 a.m. I woke to the click of my door handle being tried. Once, twice. Then, silence. The air in the room was cool, but something about the quiet made my skin crawl. My nose caught the faintest trace of that metallic scent from the night Ivy arrived, like old coins left in a warm hand. The next morning she was in the kitchen, humming. The sound was thin, almost tuneless. She was slicing something with my paring knife. It looked like an apple at first glance, but when I got closer, I saw the slices were pale, too pale, and wet. "What's that?" I asked. She smiled without looking up. "Breakfast." The smell hit me, not fruit, but raw chicken. She popped a slice into her mouth, chewing slowly, eyes meeting mine. I didn't eat that day. Saturday, 9:18 p.m. The weather turned. The wind outside howled against the old window panes, making them rattle in their frames. The bakery across the street had closed hours ago, but I still swore I could smell warm bread mixed with that faint, ever-present lavender from Ivy's hair. She sat on the couch, sweater sleeves pulled over her hands, staring at the TV, though it wasn't on. "You're quiet tonight," I said, trying to keep my voice light. She didn't answer. Didn't even blink. Sunday, 2:56 a.m. The scratching woke me. It came from inside my room. For a frozen moment, I thought maybe I was dreaming, until I realized it was coming from under the bed. The air smelled different, damp and earthy, like rotting leaves. My mouth went dry. I forced myself to lean over the edge, heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs might crack. Two pale eyes stared back from the darkness. And then slowly, Ivy's face emerged, upside down, her mouth stretched into a too-wide grin. "I couldn't sleep," she whispered. I screamed, scrambling back, hitting my head on the nightstand. She slid out from under the bed with unnatural ease, standing there like she hadn't just crawled from a place no adult should fit. "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why are you in here?" Her smile faded, replaced with something colder. "You locked the door." Monday, 6:14 a.m. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat in the kitchen with the lights on, gripping a mug of coffee until my hands cramped. Ivy didn't come out of her room. I called my landlord that morning, said I needed the locks changed. He chuckled. "That apartment only has one key, sweetheart. Been that way for 20 years. I hung up before he could finish. That night, I barricaded the bedroom door with a chair. Tuesday, 1:42 a.m. The smell woke me first. Sour, like spoiled milk mixed with damp soil. Then came the sound. I turned on my bedside lamp. The chair I'd wedged under the door handle was pushed several inches to the side. On the floor was a single muddy footprint, toes pointing toward my bed. By morning, she was gone. I checked the whole apartment, her duffel bag, sweater, and toothbrush still there, but no sign of her. The air felt heavier somehow, stale and thick. I thought maybe she'd finally left. Wednesday, 3:03 a.m. The scratching came back, this time from the closet. I sat frozen as the smell filled the room. Wet earth, lavender, and something new, a sweetness that turned my stomach, like meat left too long in the sun. The closet door creaked open. A hand emerged first, pale, dirt-streaked fingernails caked with mud, gripping the doorframe. Then Ivy's face appeared, grinning, eyes wide and unblinking. "I found a better way in," she whispered. I bolted. I didn't grab my phone, my keys, or even my shoes. I ran barefoot into the cold, empty streets, the night air burning my lungs. When I finally looked back, I saw her in my window, still smiling. The shared secret. We promised to take our secret to the grave. I just never thought the grave would answer first. Miller's Hollow isn't much of a town, just a handful of streets, a gas station, a post office that still smells faintly of mothballs, and the kind of gossip that lasts longer than the winters here. I've lived here all my life. People think they know me, the girl who works at the library, the one who keeps to herself. But there's something no one knows. Something only Claire and I shared. It happened on a cold night in November, years ago. I remember the exact time because I looked at the dash clock right before it happened, 11:46 p.m. We were driving down Miller's Creek Road, a narrow strip of cracked asphalt, winding through pine trees so thick they almost knit together above you. The windows were down, letting in the scent of pine and wood smoke from someone's distant chimney. The night air had that metallic sharpness it gets right before frost. We weren't sober, and we weren't paying attention. The man came out of the shadow so suddenly I didn't even have time to scream. There was a thud, the squeal of tires, and a sound I can't forget, like a branch snapping, but wetter. We sat there in silence, headlights cutting through the trees. I could smell the sharp tang of hot rubber from the tires, and something else, coppery. Claire was the one who broke the silence. "We can't call anyone," she said. "We'd go to jail. They'd ruin us." Her voice was calm in a way that scared me more than the body lying on the road. We dragged him into the trees. The ground was soft, damp, reeking of wet leaves and moss. My hands sank into the mud as we pushed him farther in. I remember the way my breath fogged in the cold, the way my knuckles ached from gripping his coat. When we were done, we stumbled back to the car. My jeans were soaked at the knees. The air inside the Corolla smelled wrong, mud, sweat, and something thick and sweet I didn't want to identify. We swore, right there, that we'd never talk about it again. For years we didn't. Last week, Tuesday, 10:07 p.m., I got the first text. No greeting, no name, just, "I'm still in here." Attached was a photo, the woods along Miller's Creek Road, taken from ground level. The angle was all wrong, like the camera was lying in the dirt, half buried in leaves. My stomach turned. My apartment suddenly felt too quiet, the faint hum of the refrigerator loud in my ears. Wednesday, 2:19 a.m. Another text. "It's cold. Do you remember?" This time, the photo was a close-up of damp leaves. Something pale showed beneath them. Maybe a stone, maybe not. The smell of wet soil seemed to fill my apartment. I checked every window. They were locked. I called Claire. "You're freaking out over nothing," she said, voice sharp. "Some sick joke, that's all." but her breathing was too fast, and she kept asking me the same question. They didn't send you anything else, right? Thursday, 8:55 p.m. The third message was a video. The camera moved shakily through the woods, crunching over leaves. The sound was muffled, like the phone was in someone's pocket. The lens stopped on the exact spot where we'd left him. I felt the cold all over again, the way it had seeped into my bones that night. Then the camera turned. Through the trees, I saw the road. My road. My apartment building in the distance. Friday, 1:03 a.m. The sound woke me, slow, deliberate footsteps outside my window. The gravel crunched, then stopped. The smell hit next. Wet soil, pine, and something faintly sweet and rotting. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, I couldn't reach Claire. Her phone went straight to voicemail. I drove to her house. Her car was still in the driveway, frost on the windshield. Her purse sat in the passenger seat. Inside, the air smelled faintly metallic, like pennies left in the sun. Sunday, 11:58 p.m. The last text came tonight. Your turn. No photo, just a knock at my door. Slow, steady, 3 times. The smell reached me before I even touched the handle. Damp earth, pine, and decay so strong it coated the back of my throat. When I looked through the peephole, no one was there. Just a single muddy footprint on the floor, pointing inside. I think the part that scares me most is the soil in that footprint wasn't dark like the woods by Miller's Creek. It was the pale, clay-colored earth from my mother's backyard, where my father's grave is. The birthday surprise. It was supposed to be a surprise party. I didn't know the surprise was me. I turned 32 last month. I've never liked parties. Even as a kid, the noise, the forced smiles, the singing, it all made my skin crawl. I'd rather have a quiet dinner, a small slice of cake, and go to bed without anyone making a fuss. But my friend Jenna is the kind of person who thrives on spectacle. If she isn't the center of attention, she's making sure someone else is, and usually it's me. We grew up in Pinefield, a small town pressed between wooded hills and old farmland. Nights here carry scents, pine, wood smoke, and, in the colder months, the faint smell of the paper mill from 2 towns over. You get used to it, even when the air feels too still, like the whole town is holding its breath. It was 7:14 p.m. when I got her text. Come to the cabin by Miller's Pond. Don't ask why. Dress warm. The cabin was her uncle's. We'd been there once as kids. I remembered cedar walls that smelled like they'd soaked up 50 years of smoke from the old stone fireplace, and how the lake outside always looked black after sunset. I thought maybe she'd invited a few people. Maybe it would be tolerable. The gravel crunched under my tires as I pulled up. The cabin was dark except for a single light glowing from inside. No other cars, no laughter, no music. The pond behind it was a perfect sheet of black glass, reflecting the pinpricks of starlight. The air was sharp with cold, the kind that bites at your ears and makes your breath look like smoke. I knocked. No answer. The door creaked when I pushed it open. Inside was colder than outside, the air stale and tinged with something faintly sweet, like vanilla extract left open too long, mixed with the dusty smell of cedar. "Jenna," I called. Nothing. The living room was stripped of its usual clutter. The furniture was shoved against the walls, leaving the center of the floor bare. On the coffee table sat a cake, white frosting, "Happy Birthday" scrawled in red icing that had begun to crack and sink. The sweet smell was stronger here, but not pleasant. Underneath the sugar was something metallic, sharp, and wrong. Then I saw the photos. They were scattered around the cake like a deck of cards. At first, I thought they were old snapshots of us as kids. But then I noticed every single one was of me. Not smiling at parties, not on vacations, but sleeping. In my bed at home, on my mother's couch last Thanksgiving. Even one from my office break room, my head down on the table. And in one, in the reflection of my bedroom mirror, I saw Jenna holding the camera. 8:02 p.m. The floorboards groaned behind me. I turned, and there she was, smiling, eyes wide, holding a long kitchen knife in one hand and a paper party hat in the other. "You're early," she said, her voice almost sing-song. Her sleeves were rolled up, and there was fresh dirt under her fingernails. Damp patches on her sweater gave off the faint smell of wet soil. "What is this?" My voice felt too small in the empty cabin. "It's your birthday," she said, stepping closer. "I wanted to give you something you'd never forget." Her perfume, lilac, was strong, almost choking, but underneath it I caught another scent. The same metallic tang from the cake, mixed with something sour, like milk that had gone bad. I backed toward the door. She was faster. The door slammed shut, and the knife gleamed in the yellow light. "I worked so hard on this," she hissed. "You're not leaving." Her smile wavered, then twisted into something hungrier. She made me sit at the table, the cake between us. "Make a wish," she said. When I didn't move, her grin thinned. "If you won't, I'll make one for you." She leaned in, close enough for me to see the faint smear of frosting at the corner of her mouth, and something darker beneath her fingernails, packed into the dirt. Her breath was warm against my face, sweet like icing but laced with the raw, heavy scent of meat. She began to hum, "Happy Birthday," slow and tuneless. The knife traced idle shapes in the table's wood. The shadows from the flickering light seemed to bend toward her, like they were listening. I was still staring at her hands when I realized the dirt under her nails wasn't dirt at all. It was dried blood. I don't remember deciding to run. My body just moved. I knocked over the chair, bolted for the door, yanked it open. The cold night hit me like a slap, my feet pounding the gravel. Her laughter followed me all the way to my car, high, breathless, almost joyous. That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't gone back to my apartment. I've been staying at my sister's, keeping the doors locked, the windows covered. But last night, when I came home from work, there was something waiting on my kitchen counter. A slice of white cake, the same red icing. And tucked beneath the plate, a photo of me asleep in my sister's guest room.